What is going on, guys? It's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another video. Today is the 2000 subscriber special. In the background here, we've got a bit of NMPZ Australia gameplay that I recorded the other day, and I'll just be running through a bunch of questions that I received on my Discord and from a bunch of people around the place for 2000 subscriber special. So yes, thank you very much for all your support. Thank you for getting me to the 2000 subscriber milestone. My initial goal when I started the channel was to have 1,000 by the end of the year, and look, we made it to 2,000. So that's pretty exciting in my opinion, and very blessed. Thank you very much for the support and all that. So I say let's get straight into the questions here. I've got a bunch, and if you want to know some more basic questions, I answered some of the more, some other ones that were in my last Q&A. I'll have that in the description, so if you want to know some other information like my music taste and stuff like that, which I answered, and what countries I want to visit, that'll be in there. But yeah, here is the first question. This one is from Randall Baby, and he says, will you ever do a room tour? And the answer is yes. I'm going to put it at the end of this video, so as soon as I finish filming, I'll probably just look around in the room with my phone camera, and you can see what my room is like if you really are interested. But yeah, stick around if you want to see that. So the next one is from Artem Lubichenko, and he asks, how did I come up with the name Zigzag, and with the 8 in the middle especially? And that is actually a good story. I was actually playing some Pixel Legions, which is a flash game, at my grandma's house when I was about 10 years old, and I got a high score for the day or something, and it asked what's my username, and I was like, oh, what's a cool word? Zigzag. So I typed in Z I, and you can see the I and the 8 next to each other on the keyboard, so I went I8G, and I looked up, because I was a little kid typing, I looked up at the screen and it looked like that, and I thought, hey, that actually looks pretty cool. I'll just stick with that as my username. So yeah, that's actually my username for a bunch of stuff, and I've probably had it for about a decade, which is kind of funny, but I think it's a good story, and actually I'd never told anyone that on the channel before, so I'll look at that and say yes. Anyway, the next one, if you could choose one country to 5k every time, so getting a perfect score on every time, which country would I pick? And here's the thing, I'm gonna kind of assume that I have all the time in the world to play Geoguessr, and I can only have one country. So for me, it's definitely between Russia and the US. Maybe Australia is like a third, but those two countries have a great amount of coverage. They're huge, diverse climates and stuff. I think I will err with the United States here, especially just because there's all the different climates, lots of different mountains and different biomes around the place. So I think I will actually go for the US there, but yeah, kind of a tough choice between those two. I think either of them would be fun to learn about and get really good at, because yeah, I kind of suck at both, to be honest. Feather Deed asks, if you were given the opportunity, what obscure countries would I like to visit? I definitely want to visit Bhutan. Definitely Geoguessr has made me have an appreciation for those beautiful mountains up there. Rwanda is another one. I've already talked about how I like mountains, and I think that'll be my picks for all of them. Definitely Rwanda would be super interesting. I was watching some interesting vlogs from out there, and it's just super green, and everyone's friendly, and it's just like a really interesting culture, I think. Also, Georgia. I think I mentioned Georgia as another country that I would really like to visit. It's so super beautiful, super ancient culture, massive green mountains. So yeah, I'll have to go with that. Chuma has a bunch of questions here. If I could only eat cuisine from 3 countries for the rest of my life, what would my picks be? So that one is not too hard. I would definitely go for Chinese, Italian, and Indian. Chinese, Italian, and Indian I could probably eat every day for the rest of my life and be happy. So sorry if I didn't say yours, but yeah, they're my 3 favorites, I would have to say, because Italian just covers so much. Chinese, I love all Chinese food, and Indian, obviously, just so many staples. That's not only because Chuma is Indian. I actually love Indian food, and we cook it pretty often in my house. He also asks, how often do I actually encounter dangerous animals like snakes, spiders, etc. So with that one is interesting, because Adelaide right here is not the most dangerous animal, it's not the hub of dangerous animals in Australia, I would say. You're much more likely to get the more dangerous ones up in Sydney and Brisbane, I think. And so what you mostly got to watch out for is snakes, but there's also redback spiders, and yeah, there's plenty of venomous snakes, so you got to watch out for that kind of thing. He also says, have I ever boxed a kangaroo? Sadly not, although I've been pretty close to them, and they can get a little aggressive sometimes. I've definitely been within a few meters or 1 meter of a kangaroo on a number of occasions. He also thinks that I resemble Luke Dumont, and like asked what's my thoughts on it and if he's popular in Australia. He's a travel vlogger, and I actually, because actually like 3 people separately have told me that I look like him, I actually went and watched some of his videos, but no, I've never heard any Australian talking about him, although I'm not talking to other Australians about travel vloggers that often. And he said, also, his last question was, what's one thing I hate about my community? And now I won't say, I can't think of anything that I hate about my community. I like my community very much. One thing I would say about the Geoguessr community in general is that there's a lot of unnecessary drama, especially like back a year ago. Everyone was like, so like, you know, there's people cheating, like this and that. Like, obviously, like they're big problems and all that, but like there's just all this kind of strange stuff about like drama with, I don't know, different servers and stuff like that. So I don't like that. And I try my best to not be involved in it. So yeah, I guess we'll see how well I do in that. But yeah, that's my aim. Rob Monson says, if you could live anywhere else in the world for the rest of your life, but you couldn't leave that country, which would it be? Good question. I think the safe answer would be New Zealand, because then it would be easier for my family to visit me, and also I think New Zealand is like quite similar to Australia and quite a beautiful country as well. Look, I don't want to put it on public record, but I do kind of find New Zealand more beautiful than Australia. Australia has a lot of beautiful places, don't get me wrong, but yeah, with the mountains, I really love mountains, and I would like to live like on the South Island with mountains. So that would probably be like the safe option. I'm also a citizen of Canada, so that would also be the other safe option, and also pretty similar to Australia in many ways. So I'd probably go New Zealand though. I probably would, actually. So sorry if it's a bit of a boring answer, but well, maybe Germany. I also speak a bit of German, and I have a German video coming soon. Yeah, probably one of those 3. Freepool Miller says, have you ever considered switching the theme of the channel or abandoning it? If yes, then why? No, I've not. I said I've got Geoguessr in the name of the channel, and to be honest, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to do anything else apart from Geoguessr just at the moment. Though I have thought of doing vlogging, and I was wondering if I should do that on a second channel or on this channel. I think I'll probably just stick to this channel. Otherwise, I was like thinking of doing like some philosophy videos or something like that, but I'll just do that on a second channel when it comes to it. I'm not going to switch this channel around, because I think people here are here to see Geoguessr, and I'm most happy making it. He says, what's my favorite food? And my favorite food is donuts. That is a pretty simple answer, but yeah, my favorite food is donuts. And he also asks, what is the most based person ever to live on this planet? And that is easy to answer. It's Lil B. Thank you, based god. Yeah, that's it for that. So HK Ron asks, do you watch any travel vloggers on YouTube? If so, what are your favorites? Yes, I do. I do watch quite a bit. I mean, with my interests in geography and stuff, it's kind of no surprise. My 2 favorites are Sabbatical and Boredom Bankrupt. Sabbatical I've been watching a lot of recently. I particularly love how he just goes to like all like the African countries, and he's in Jamaica at the moment, I think. If you haven't checked out his channel, I'd highly recommend it, because his vlogs are highly, I don't know, he just likes to talk to people and learn the language, and I like his style a lot, I have to say. Nakas asks, is water wet? And I actually have no idea, but I'll err on the side of yes, just because it's the natural way of talking about it, like water's wet, but you know, I don't have a strong opinion. Like if you are strongly of the opinion the other way, I don't really care, because I don't really have a strong opinion myself either. He also says, if I could close my eyes and appear in a post-Soviet country, which would it be? And as I mentioned, I like Boredom Bankrupt a lot, and I've been watching him for a long time. And one of his first series was, well, not one of his first ones, but one of his ones that I've watched was out in Belarus, in like the Chernobyl zone, and I would like to visit Belarus. I would like to go out into the countryside. I think it looks like a really interesting country. Mr. Sharkfin asks, what do I think on Barbados becoming a republic? This is another thing that I don't particularly have a strong opinion about. Neither do I have a strong opinion about Australia becoming a republic or staying a monarchy. I don't really mind that much. I don't think much would change, and yeah, I think if Barbados wants to do that, then good on them, but yeah, don't really mind. JWeb said, do you think no move is the best way to enjoy Geoguessr? Yes, JWeb, I do. I think from the content on my channel, that should be pretty obvious, but you know what, JWeb? Fair enough. Appreciate you, and yes. Fia asks, what maps would I suggest to newer players on Geoguessr? I would say, like, starting off with world maps is best. So Diverse World, obviously, a very strong pick. And then moving on to country maps once you've improved, because I think, look, if I was really serious about improving at Geoguessr, what I'd be doing is going on to a bunch of different country maps and like actually sussing out each different country and like what exactly each region looks like. I particularly think of like Colombia, where I really suck at that country. If I wanted to get better, I'll be playing like a ton of rounds just so I differentiate the middle to the south, because that's really tough for me. Anyway, Colon E asks, what do I think about Finno-Ugric cultures? And so I gave that a quick Google. So as far as I know, that's like Hungarian cultures, Finnish, like Estonian, even some like Magyar, and like that includes like parts of Russia as well. I think those cultures are cool. I think it's cool that they're kind of really spread out and that kind of thing. But I don't really know too much about them, so I'll just leave it at that. Crazy Creeper says, if you could play only one Geoguessr map for the rest of your life, but it can't be diverse world, what would it be? Good question. I'll just pick another world map. Just whatever has the most locations. Probably just the standard world map, to be honest, because if I was playing it for the rest of all time, I'd want it to be as many locations as possible so I don't get repeats and whatnot. So I'll just say the world map, even though it sucks in some ways. I'll just go for it. So NS9 had a couple of questions here. He said, favorite sports teams? Not really any, like I'm not a massive sport man, but I do definitely support the Adelaide Strikers in the BBL, in the cricket league over here, and the Australian cricket team as well. So that's probably my two biggest ones. But as for other things, in the AFL, I go for the Bulldogs, and yeah. Apart from that, yeah, don't really have too many cricket or like sport teams that I support a lot. He says Crows or Power for anyone who's overseas watching. That is talking about the two Adelaide Australian rules teams. So Australian rules football is like a particular game. You've probably heard of it. It's kind of similar to rugby in a way, I guess. Like a mix between rugby and soccer, maybe you could say. And basically, there are two teams in Adelaide, and Crows or Port Power, and I'll pick Crows, but I don't really have a particular allegiance to either. I mean, I don't even like either of the teams, to be honest, but yeah, I'll pick Crows. And what is my family background? A bit of German, like I'm a quarter German, like English, Scottish, Irish, I don't know, a bit of all that, and then a bit of like Central European as well. But kind of just like a normal Australian mix, I would say. And he says summer or winter, and I'll marginally choose summer. I prefer dressing in winter, but as for the rest of life, I just prefer summer a little bit, I think. Søren asks, favorite Geoguessr player with whom you want to make a video, and why is it Geowizard? Yeah, it's Geowizard. I want to make a video with Geowizard. He's a legend, and yes, I hope I will one day. Favorite band, says Maz. I think I would choose the Smiths, but I also really like My Bloody Valentine. I like Title Fight, American Football, The Cure, New Order, bunch of bands. If you like any of those, comment, but yeah, they're probably some of my favorites. What made you want to start a YouTube channel? That's a good question. I wanted to start a YouTube channel all my life, like ever since I was watching YouTube at a young age, and I was just waiting for the right thing. And when I started to get good at Geoguessr, I mean, I'm still not particularly good, but when I started to get a bit better, I was like, hold up, I think people would be impressed by this skill, and also like, you know, it's not too hard to make Geoguessr videos. You kind of just film it, do a little bit of editing, and then put it out. And so that was kind of the rationale, and I went for it, and I don't regret doing that at all. So Xmoney kind of has some similar questions on that vein. He says, what inspired you to make YouTube videos daily? And he says he's making a YouTube channel himself, and what drives me to make daily content without getting bored. So, I mean, I don't really know. Like, I guess I just don't really like doing homework that much. So while I was at uni, it was like much easier to just be doing videos. So that and it was fun to make. They've always been fun to make. I still enjoy making videos quite a lot. And also with the question of how do I not get bored, I think the big one there is that I don't actually play too much Geoguessr off like stream or off videos. Like typically most of the Geoguessr I'm playing these days is actually on camera. So yeah, I guess that's what keeps me from getting bored, because I always want to come back, because yeah, I play other games when I'm not recording. And so moving on, EA says, how are you at the guesser when inebriated? And that's a good question. I don't know if I've played much Geoguessr while I was drunk, but yeah, I don't think I really have, but I guess probably pretty average. Normally I'll like whip it out on my phone sometimes when I'm at a party or something, so that's probably the only experience I have, and it normally goes badly, to be honest. Do I own any flags, says Krez? Well, if you stick around for my room tour at the end, you can see up on my wall here I have like all the flags of the world, and then I probably also have like maybe like a few Australian, Canadian flags from back in the day, but that's probably about it. I don't own any like cool ones, but if I ever like get into streaming, I'll probably like get some flags or something that would be cool to have in the background for sure. Viala asks, Pete Davidson ship with Ariana or Kim? So if you don't know what that's all about, then she's asking about whether Pete Davidson was a better couple with Ariana Grande or Kim Kardashian. And I will say with Ariana, just because you know, the whole situation with Kim and Kanye, like the kids will lose you know, an intact family. That's always sad. So, but yeah, no strong opinions on that one, as you can probably tell. But yeah, I'll probably go with that. And she also asks, do you think that Bougainville, I don't really know how to pronounce that, Bougainville Island should become a country or stay an autonomous region? And she means of Papua New Guinea. And again, this is another one where, like with these kind of geopolitics ones, I don't really have the strongest of opinions, but from the perspective of a geography YouTuber, I would say that it should become a country because that's more interesting, you know? So I guess a slight preference there for that, but yeah, don't really think of it too much either way. Kim SDMN asks, what's my favorite Christmas food if I celebrate it? And yes, I do. And do you have any plans for New Year's Eve? So what is my favorite Christmas food? Well, I really like eggnog, but we just like kind of buy eggnog from the shop. We don't really ever make it ourselves. Christmas food though, I don't really know. Like, we don't, like in Australia, we don't have too many special Christmas foods. Also, the fact that it's like really hot at Christmas Day, it's often like 35, 40 degrees, so you often don't really eat like a lot of the kind of typical Christmas foods. I would say that though prawns are one of my favorite Christmas foods, so maybe I'll go with that. And for New Year's Eve, probably just go to one of my girlfriend's friends' houses or something like that. So Grace Kelly, is there a country you wanted to visit now that you play Geoguessr, and vice versa? So she's asking, now that I've played a bunch of Geoguessr and seen a bunch of the countries of the world more, which are some ones that I would like to visit? And I will say for that, definitely Slovenia is one that I really underestimated. I was very surprised and quite blown away by how beautiful Slovenia is. So that would be the top one. And one that I kind of thought was uglier after playing it, maybe like Mongolia, just because it is so flat and deserty. I still think it's still a country that I would really like to visit, so it was already high up on the list, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I just think like you have to go to certain places in Mongolia, and it's quite far distance away, so maybe my perception of it is a bit skewed, but I'd still like to go there. It's just quite barren, you know, which I don't think I knew that much. So Quayne asks, are countries fake? Good question, Quayne. I mean, in the sense that they're kind of like a collective fiction, I guess they're fake. So yeah, I guess I'll grant you that. I think that's what you're getting at, and yes, I'll guess I'll grant you that. Snorlax, and Dark. I almost missed Dark's questions here. What made you start your channel? I also already kind of answered that, but he also asked butter or olive oil, and I will go with butter. I do like my Mediterranean food, and sorry to my Greeks and Italians watching, but I think I will err on the side of butter. Still love olive oil as well. Don't worry. Snorlax asks, you have a girlfriend, right? How long have you been dating? I've been dating my girlfriend for over 2.5 years. Going happily, so that's nice. But maybe one day she'll make an appearance on the channel if I do vlogs or something. You just have to hold out and see, I guess. J Wholesome Bread asks, how many states have you been to or territories have you been to in Australia? So I've obviously been to South Australia, lived there. I was born in Victoria. I have been to New South Wales and to Canberra, Australian Capital Territory. And recently I went to Perth for the first time, almost 2 years ago. I went to Perth for the first time. So that is all of them. I have not been to the Northern Territory, Queensland, or Tasmania. So which of those three would I like to visit the most? Definitely Tasmania. But would like to visit either of the other two as well at some point. Winter for Life has a couple of questions. Are any more Australia guides coming soon? or any more country-specific guides. So yeah, I don't know, like in terms of the Australia content on the channel, before 1,000 subscribers I was doing many more videos about Australia, and actually like kind of the majority of my viewers came from Australia. Now only like 5% of my viewers come from there, and so like it's more of a passion project. If I make any videos about Australia, they don't really get too many views, unfortunately, but do let me know in the comments if you want to see more. This is kind of my excuse to put some in the video, this background footage, but yeah, I guess kind of the situation is that I don't really, I don't really think that people want to see them that much. Unfortunately, I would if they did, I would be still making a lot more, and I still want to get my world record back. I have ideas for another Australia tutorial, but yeah, it's kind of on the back burner for now. I'm more happy just making these challenge videos and stuff like that. 10 AM asks what's my favorite animal. I would say meerkats. I really love meerkats. They're super cute, and I don't know, I've always just liked meerkats, always loved seeing them at the zoo and stuff like that. It's Hazza. Are there any species of spiders to look out for in South Australia, or are they mainly on the East Coast? Yes, I mentioned that they're mainly on the East Coast. I'm assuming It's Hazza might be Aussie with that username, but yeah, redback spiders is what you have to look out for. I've actually put my hands very close to redback spiders on a number of occasions, accidentally in the pool and stuff like that. They hang around the water sometimes. Very dangerous spider. They can put you in hospital, so they're no joke. But yeah, not too worried. Generally speaking, it's just the redbacks. Soviet Spy, how do you feel about the state of your channel currently? In the future, is there an ideal situation for your channel? I'm very happy with the state of the channel recently. I mean, just in the last week, the views have been a bit down, but that is pretty normal for YouTube. You just have to take the good weeks and the bad weeks as they come. But yeah, I'm very happy with the type of videos I'm making. I want to be even more creative, but that just takes a bit of time to think about. I definitely want to diversify a little bit at some point, more sporkle videos, more other kind of geography related videos. I have a video ideas tab inside my channel on Discord now, and so if you want to suggest anything for me to make, that would be cool. But overall, pretty happy with the situation on the channel, I would say. And Tomatello asks a similar question. How has your journey from 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers been for you? And did you discover anything new about the channel, the platform, the game, yourself as a creator while you did that? So I think that the journey from 1,000 to 2,000 has been, well, obviously been pretty rapid. It's only been like 2.5 months or maybe 3 months since I hit 1,000. And since then, one thing I've really noticed in the meantime is that titling and thumbnails really matter a lot more than I thought at the start. It's kind of like a Dunning-Kruger thing where, like at the start of the channel, I kind of thought my thumbnails were pretty good, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that they really weren't. So I guess I just kind of had to learn that in the last kind of couple of months. That also you have to kind of clickbait a little bit. So sorry to you guys, everyone watching, but I do think you have to do clickbait to some extent in order to get your click-through rate up, and that's just part of YouTube in 2021, which is fine. I mean, I wish you kind of didn't have to, but yeah. As for discovering my stuff about myself or about the game, I don't know, I definitely, one thing I've definitely discovered is that you have to come up with a lot, because Geoguessr is pretty simple. You have to come up with a lot of different ideas for making it more interesting. And about myself, I don't know, I don't know, it's been good to, have the consistency and, force myself to make videos pretty regularly and stuff like that, so I'll say that much, but, yeah. And what is the worst possible scene I can imagine? What's the worst possible scene? So it's gotta have, a Great Plains, USA or Canada round, for sure. Maybe a Queensland round. As you saw in my last video, Queensland's particularly weak for me. What else would we have around? Maybe Brazil. We'd have to have a Brazil round in there, probably southern Brazil, where it's around Brasilia, where it's really hard to get. Maybe on the Bolivian border. Yeah, I'm just looking up at my map. Up at my map. Bolivian border round in Brazil. That would be impossible. Probably an Indonesia as well. So what are you up to? Is that 4? And then maybe just. What else is tough? Maybe just the Russia round. Maybe just the Russia in Asian Russia, where it's basically impossible to get it. And there you have it. It's the worst seed. You probably get even if you're moving around, you probably only get 15,000 points. Okay, moving on. Kugel asks, what places did you have a completely different perception of before you played Geoguessr? Ooh, this is a good one. I didn't really, okay. Before I played Geoguessr, I really thought that Argentina was way more green. I did not realize how dry Patagonia is and how dry most of Argentina is, so that's certainly one. I thought Mexico was a lot greener as well. I think that was actually one of the main things, like discovering that a lot of countries that you thought were completely green are actually only green in like small places and are pretty much actually quite dry elsewhere. So I'd say the same thing about like Cambodia and Thailand. What else? Even like Indonesia gets a lot more dry than people think. And I never thought that Brazil had such red soil before I played Geoguessr as well. So that was quite interesting. I kind of thought Australia was the only place that had such like orangey red soil, but you know, you see it all around the world, which is something I didn't really consider or know about. So yeah, pretty cool to know. And that's actually a really good question. It says, do you feel like there are any locations that you hardly ever get on Geoguessr? If so, which ones? So countries that never seem to appear for me. I'm just looking up at my map right now, places where I hardly ever get. Well, one thing I'll say is there's like Trekker in Pakistan that used to be like part of like the actual game, like in Battle Royale and stuff. And yeah, I noticed that the Trekker in Pakistan I've never gotten, I don't think. Or at least I've never gotten in a proper game mode, so that's quite interesting. Someone should put that in a challenge map for me, or something like that, because I actually want to see what it looks like. Other countries, I never get Kaliningrad, that's another place. Now that I think of it, like I've only ever had one round in Kaliningrad, I think, which is crazy, because it's like, you know, it's almost the same size as, well, you know, it's maybe like a fifth of the size of Lithuania, but you know, surely I've had so many rounds in Lithuania, but it's just because Russia's so big that it almost never, you know, it almost never gets included. And what do the stats on my channel look like? Okay, so we come to the end of the questions on my phone, so we're just going to check out some of the stats on my channel over here. So let's go here. So here we go. This is the analytics. I'll probably just show the audience tab to save you time, but yeah, so here is the stats for like new and returning viewers. So every day probably receiving about 100 or 150 new viewers, and then, you know, every time I release a video it's about 1,000 people returning to watch, or a bit more. You can see I accidentally slacked a little bit over here and the views go down, but that's only to be expected. Here is the time of day that most people are watching, but of course this pretty much just lines up with when Europeans and Americans are both awake, so around this time of day, probably mostly Europeans. Here are the similar channels to what my audience watches. So GeoWizard number 1, GeoPeter number 2. Interestingly, Jack Sucks at Geography is number 3. He's a good channel, but I would have thought some of the other ones would be more similar. But here are the others. So plenty of familiar names. Most of these guys I watch. I really like IBX Toycat. He's a good channel. I like his discussions about geography and stuff. So that is everyone in there. Also, the subscriber bell notifications are kind of low for my channel. I guess I've just never asked people, so if you want to do that, definitely consider it, because particularly low number of people have that on. You can see the other similar videos to what people on my channel are watching, and that tends to be a lot of GeoPeter. I think me and Peter tend to make similar videos, and so yeah, you can see he's a bunch of in here. And then whenever whenever GeoWizard releases a new video, it's always on the top as well. Watch time from subscribers is about 50-50. More people unsubscribed watching than subscribed at the moment. Top geographies are here. I'll go into that in a sec. Female to male ratio is about 9:1. Or 1 to 9, and here is the demographics in terms of age, which is pretty interesting, I would say. Yeah, most people watch with subtitles off, obviously, and so here are the top geographies. So you can also see, based on view duration, you can see the USA is way out in front. So we got US at 22%, UK, Germany, Australia. Canada has actually just overtaken Netherlands. But shoutouts to all the Dutch people watching, because I think you must be the most overrepresented nation on my list. Like, I don't know how many people live in the Netherlands. There's probably about 10 mil or something, I guess. Maybe a bit more, I guess. But yeah, they're certainly overrepresented, which is pretty sick. I guess they all speak pretty good English. Then it's Sweden, Poland, also Poland, pretty overrepresented. And Finland, oh, maybe not overrepresented, but very good viewership from Poland, considering. I don't know, just more than I would have expected, I guess. Finland, Norway, India, Brazil, Italy, Czechia, Denmark, Russia, Hungary, New Zealand. New Zealand quite a fair way down, actually. Yeah. That is all of them. The bottom one here is Singapore. So few in Singapore, despite it being an English-speaking country. Even more in Bosnia. But there you go. That is pretty much it for that. And yeah, so I will just switch over to my other camera now, and I will give a short room tour. So I will do the outro on there probably. Okay, so here we are in my room. Hopefully I sound alright on my iPhone. Yeah, this is the PC I play at. It's a 144 Hz monitor, which I had for Counter-Strike when I would be playing that. So yeah, got a fairly big mouse mat for CS as well. You can see I've got the mic stand, which is pretty big, headphones, got the Bible on deck. This is my bed as well. So I have this main, I got a big world map, National Geographic, that my girlfriend gave me. Other maps in my room, I have this big one which has Alberta and BC from when I did a road trip on there, and I've kind of circled the places I went. We went all the way up, we stayed on the border here near Dawson Creek, which is, yeah, on the border, fairly far way up in Canada, which is pretty cool. Yeah, then I've got my world map. Over here I've got the flags of the world, which, don't worry guys, I don't cheat when I'm making any of my videos. I specifically don't look up. Got this like world elevation map, which is pretty cool. Actually interesting to see where all the elevated places are. Often I'll be looking at this while I do my homework and stuff. Here's an Australian map as well. And yeah, this is my second desk where I'll just do like homework and stuff. Trying to keep my like gaming life and my work life, uni stuff separate. Then I've just got a bunch of books over here. What is there to really to say? I've kind of separated them into different sections, but it's kind of dark anyway. And then I've got like a main bookcase over here as well. It's just got a lot of different stuff on it. Got a globe up there. Yeah, I don't know, just this and that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And how do I switch around the camera? I don't know. Here it is. So thank you very much for watching the video all the way to the end. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and yeah, once again, thank you very much for all the support and for reaching or giving me 2,000 subscribers. So thank you very much to everyone. I will see you guys in a video very soon. Catch you later.